𝐸𝐴
Nobody's Way Up to Exploration Hero, episode 1. And this was such a good episode and such a good showing for an anime. Like, I think, this is definitely like one of the best showings so far for the show. Now, here's the thing, my friend, is I don't generally like dungeon appeared in the real world or a gate suddenly appeared. Those are generally the stories I tended to stay away from. Now, of course, every so often, you're gonna have a really cool standout one that like you gotta watch. But for the most part, I generally try and stay away from those types of shows just because like they're really common and especially like in the donghua or manhwa scene, like they're really common stories that these gates or these dungeons appear in the real world. So with that being said, I went into this with tempered expectations and the expectations that, hey, this story might not be for me, but I'm going to give it a solid chance. And thankfully, we did. And when I went through what I'm going to watch this season, this was definitely on that list and it really blew me away. Now, first off, we have this story and this follows this kid and this kid's name is Kaito. Okay. So these dungeons suddenly appeared 13 years ago. And his neighbor, apparently her dad works for the government. And the government went in and they suddenly began to, like, what the hell happened? These dungeons or whatever. So they began to govern the dungeons. Since then, dungeons have kind of milded out and they have set up to where regular people can now go in and explore said dungeons. When they're in the dungeons, again, it's really hard to say for sure or not, but when they're in the dungeons, they have the ability to level up. Now, I don't know if when dungeons appeared, so did abilities within normal people. That tends to be what ends up happening in these stories, but it could very well be that, you're just leveling up within the dungeon. But you have to assume that even if you level up in the dungeon and if you get like some kind of actual power, like, be able to conjure lightning or fireballs, you assume that you could do that in real life too. It makes no sense that you can do it in the dungeon, but you can't do it in here. But maybe there's going to explain that later. Again, this was very episode 1. There's still going to be a lot of exploring of the story that, still needs to be done. But what they did do in episode 1 was I'm very curious about it, right? So that curiosity scale is at an 11. And because that curiosity scale is at an 11, this is what makes a really good episode 1. Great episode 1s entertain you, they pique your interest, and they make you curious about the characters surrounding them, and the story, especially the overarching story. So that's where they nailed episode 1. So anyways, we have this kid again. I keep forgetting his goddamn name. His name's Kaito. And he has been exploring the bare minimum level 1 dungeons, and he is the slime killer. Bro goes in with a can of bug spray. He goes, psst. He's the fact that bug spray works on slimes is wild to me. But he goes in, he's been, doing slimes, collecting slime stones, and he's just been getting like a steady, you could call it like a side hustle, just steady, slow income as he's trying to, level himself up to hopefully maybe take on level 2 or 3 or whatever else in the dungeon there is. Finally, one day, he goes in, he's doing his slime thing. He finds a golden slime. He beats it as normal. He doesn't level up and he doesn't actually gain any experience from it. So he finds that weird. He finds a gold card, and the gold card is actually tied into summoning. And apparently there's these drops that end up happening, and you can summon people, you can summon heroes, summon folks in a way within the dungeon that can help you out in the dungeon. Basically, you can summon confidants or familiars within the, I guess that's what you could call like a familiar within the dungeon. And, they range from, basic common to like super rare and stuff. So he finds one. He contemplates the whole episode about selling it because apparently these super rare cards can sell for 1 billion yen, which in our language, depending where you are in the world, that's about $6 million in the US and varies throughout. You can use Google to do your conversion, but about $6 million because unfortunately the yen has fallen quite a bit. So it used to be closer to like 8 or 9. Now it's about $6 million. Still a shit ton of money. He's contemplating what to do with it. He ends up in the dungeon actually summoning it. And it's supposed to be this big Valkyrie, like this power. It ends up being a little itty bitty teeny tiny little girl, her name's Sophie, this little Valkyrie girl, cutest thing ever. But she's extremely OP, extremely powerful. But he finds out that by using her powers, it makes her hungry. She's hungry for magic stones. So beat a monster, get a stone. Now she needs to eat it to replenish it. He's like, yo, there's no, the math ain't mathing there. So he ends up just using her for her senses. They get a bunch of stones, and then now he's contemplating. As the episode ended, he's contemplating, okay, what do I do next? I'm going to go to level 2, and then I'm going to figure out what to do next. So this episode really introduced a really, really strong premise. It introduced a really unique story. It introduced a really funny character in Kaito. I like the way that he interacts with his probably romantic option, or the romantic person, the romance option that he has, which is his neighbor girl. I like the way he interacts with her. I like the way he interacts with his friends. I like his overall motif. It's very comedic and I very much enjoy that. And overall, I just had a really good time watching it. And I think that's where you can really hang your hat on for this being a positive experience. This was a really fun watch. And that's what I really enjoy about the show so far. So yeah, I think, they're crushing it right out the gate. Nobody's way up to Exploration Hero, I think is really cool. In looking at the ED and the opening, it seems that there might be more to these dungeons than what it seems, because it does show us him, it looks like in a traditional isekai type town in the ED. So there might be more to these dungeons than just caves and stuff. There might be a whole nother world through these dungeons. But again, all of that remains to be seen. So we'll end up seeing on how this goes as we go into episode 2. The good thing is episode 2 launched with this as well. So check out my review coming very soon. I mean, it's going to be literally right after this. So just watch my review next of episode 2. Go watch episode 2 and then come watch my review. All right, I'm going to see you guys then. I'm not going to talk any longer. Episode 1, freaking fire. All right, I'll see you guys next week or next episode. I'll see you guys later today, probably. Go watch my other video. Peace.